All right, man. Let's move on to the Western Conference.
For sure.
And we'll start things off in the Central Division. And leading the way, of course,
is the Arizona
Arizona Coyotes. Future home of Austin Matthews, perhaps.
Oh, here we go.
A lot of the people love to tell us.
Oh my God, yeah.
But no, it's definitely not the Arizona Coyotes. It is, of course, the Colorado Avalanche, who won the President's Trophy last season. DraftKings Sportsbook has them winning the President's Trophy again this season, just based on the over-under. They are projected to finish with 110.5 points, and that obviously leads the division by a large margin. Like, there is a 13-point gap between the Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild, who are number 2 in team total points at 97.5. Okay. Then you have the Dallas Stars, 95.5, St. Louis, 94.5, the Winnipeg Jets, 92.5, and then the Chicago Blackhawks, who a lot of people this offseason have been saying that they're back and they got Seth Jones and Jonathan Taves is coming back. But according to DraftKings Sportsbook, they have them finishing as the 3rd worst team in the Central Division. Again, this is just based on the over-under point totals. They're projected for 91.5 points. And then at the bottom of the division, you got the Nashville Predators, 84.5, and then the Arizona Coyotes, who have a 69.5 point total, and that is the 2nd worst point total in the NHL, just ahead of the Buffalo Sabres. So, Lepore, what is your initial take on the Central Division?
I think the Central has ones that can be way off. Like that. That's the one that jumps out at me. And even again, back to the domiciliation model, like he agrees. Like he had. So Colorado was what, 110. He has Colorado. He's Colorado at 121.
Wow.
Like an 11-point thing, 11-point difference. And as I was saying earlier, but like, what can you see happen at 110 points flat? If someone said, what's more likely, Colorado gets 100 points or 120, I'd be like, I think 120 is more likely that things go really good for them rather than like 100 points in that division, in that conference for Colorado is like a bad season. Like it'd be a totally like passive season.
So I assume he has Colorado winning the President's Trophy.
Oh, easily. Right? Yeah.
Based
easily.
on that 120 point projection.
Yeah. He's got Tampa at 112 was second, and then Vegas 107, and then Toronto at 108, and then Vegas at 107.
Okay.
Yeah. Other ones, I think Winnipeg. He had Winnipeg at what? 90.
He had Winnipeg at, let me just pull it up real quick, at 92.5.
I'd go over on that one. Like I like the Jets. Like they dealt with a lot last year. Again, that division. I think I'd go over with that one. Like I think it's more likely that the Jets fight for / make the playoffs than like aren't close. And again, like you really have to look at the divisions. Like they're going to be playing Nashville, Arizona, and then even within the conference, like those Western teams. So like I would go over on the Jets. I think he had Mini about where I would put them. Like they're going to me, that one's a coin flip. Like I can't see Minnesota being like a really good team, like easily at 100, or a really bad team either. And by bad, I mean like easily missing the playoffs. What do you have Dallas at? 95?
95.5. So yeah, so DraftKings has them finishing essentially 3rd in the Central Division.
Dom has them at 89.
89, eh?
That's a big. Yeah, he's low on Dallas, and like I mean,
because I like Dallas. I even talked.
Yeah, you do like Dallas. Yeah.
Like I think that's like a low key, like good Stanley Cup bet. I think they're like 25-1.
Okay, there you go.
I like that roster. I mean, I don't think they're gonna win the Stanley Cup, but if you're looking for some value, it's not bad.
Yeah, that one's like, the thing is, Dallas is always weird. If I feel like Dallas always has like a big story, like a big injury, or like they had like that year they had the terrible star. Like there's always a lot of drama in Dallas, so maybe that's why the numbers are a little off. With Arizona, like as one of those like basement feeder teams, like what do you see on that one? That like it's so low, it's you got to bet over, or like no, this team can be really bad.
Yeah, you know what, man? I think I would take the under on that 69.5. Like that team sucks.
I don't even know who they have now.
Like they're just man, they basically just took all of those all of those Vancouver contracts.
Yeah, that's right.
Jay Beagle and
Yeah.
Antoine Roussel. I mean, they got Jacob Chikrin, who emerged as one of the best defensemen in the NHL last season. Like, he was awesome. But man, I'm just looking at their forward core right now. I mean, I still like Clayton Keller, but he has disappointed after signing his contract. I think he signed a $7 million contract.
Remember when he came in the league? Like the highlight reels he was putting up, how excited everyone was for this kid.
Oh man, yeah, he came in like looking fantastic, and I think he also set some records like in the U.S. Development program.
I think you're right.
Like,
yeah,
they were comparing him to Matthews just in terms of like how much he tore up the U.S. Development program. But yeah, he signed a contract for over $7 million. And we talked about contracts on the last show, and I think Dom had that as like a really, I don't think it was like a very bad contract, but he definitely had it in the negative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Clayton Keller, 8 years, $57.2 million. So yeah, he's a guy, like, if he could take, the next step and emerge as the player that a lot of people thought he would become, maybe they're not going to be terrible. But yeah, like Phil Kessel, Nick Schmaltz, Christian Dvorak is a pretty good player. But after that, okay, Barrett Hayton, who they also drafted pretty high, but you just go down this roster, it's just not good.
Yeah.
Just not very good. Then they also lost, they lost both of their goalies, Anthony Emmys in Carolina. Darcy Kemper's now on the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, Kemper. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, this team sucks. I think I'm going to take the under on this team.
Yeah. I heard Dvorak, story I tell. I made a point to go see the London Knights when they were in town during Marner's last year there. And their top line was Marner, Kachuk, and Dvorak.
That is disgusting.
In the OHL. So you had like 2 high picks, and then like Dvorak, I think, was a 2nd round pick. And I'm saying this with all seriousness. This is in no way an exaggeration. They were playing, the 3 of them, when they were on the ice, were playing pickup hockey. Like, they were just like passing it around, like in front of the net. You score, no, you score, empty net, like barred out. Like, it was actually hilarious how much better those 3 were than everybody else. But so I've always kind of kept my eye on Dvorak, like from remembering that game and how dominant that line was.
Yeah, that must have been cool to watch live, because I remember like watching highlights of that London Knights team, because they would show like Marner, right? Because he was like one of the top picks in the draft. And yeah, I feel like all those guys had like 120 points that season with the London Knights. Like,
yeah, that team was pretty well like unbeatable. And even I remember watching, like, again, like you're watching a prospect, your favorite team, like how excited I was for Marner. Like, he was like playing the point on the power play, just like doing whatever he wanted.
Doing whatever the hell he wanted.
Yeah, I'll go sideboards now. It was just hilarious. Like, again, how good they were. Phil Kessel, though, man. I mean, our boy Phil, one more year of Phil. For Leafs fans out there, I believe this is the last year of the Phil Kessel contract.
That he's on the books?
Yeah, that $1.2 million for the.
I think you're right. I should go double check that on Cap Friendly, but I think
exciting. The Leafs are going to free up some cap space.
Yeah, it's the last year, $1.2 million of retained salary for Phil the Thrill.
Why'd they do that? I always wondered, like, what was the negotiation in that like, hey, you have to take 1.2 million, and maybe that got them Kapanen or something. There was no, okay, we'll give you Kapanen if you do this, but I don't know. I found it's kind of like a weird random thing, like to keep 1.2 million of his $8 million.
Yeah, especially because he was really good.
Yeah, like he's like a 30, 35 goal scorer every year.
Like, holy crap, man. He won 2 Stanley Cups. Like, so anyway.
Is Phil Kessel a Hall of Famer?
Oh, we can do a whole podcast on that.
Because people throw it. I don't really, like, my first answer would be no, but I've heard people throw it out there. I think Friedman threw it out there like he should be in the Hall of Fame. Like, his goal rate, his consistency. I mean, people joke a lot about Phil's fitness, but like, he's always healthy. Like, I remember with the Leafs, it was like, look at his stats, like 80 games, 82 games.
Yeah, he's like one of the best Iron Men of basically like this entire generation.
Yeah, so the hot dogs are working, everyone. I mean, contrary to popular belief.
For real, make fun of his diet and, the way that he looks all you want, but this dude is always available for his team, and he scores a ton of goals, and he's won a couple of championships. So, you know what? When you break down that dude's career, he is sort of a borderline Hall of Famer.
A lot of people think too, man, and the guy said before how much I love Sid. A lot of people think Kessel was robbed of that Conn Smythe
one of those years.
That was the first year where like he had more goals than Sid, and I think a lot of like timely goals. And they just kind of gave it to Sid because it's Sid.
Yeah, because it's Sid.
Yeah, kind of like the Washington year. It's like, well, Ovechkin's going to get it.
Exactly. It's almost like when anytime like LeBron wins the NBA championship. I mean, LeBron's like insane, but it's like, okay, we're just going to give it to LeBron. We're just going to give it to the best player on the team that won the title, even if their numbers are not the best. Right.
Yeah.
Well, there was how it works sometimes in sports. Same thing with Tom Brady. He always wins.
Oh, Super Bowl Bruno, MVP. don't do it to me, Bruno. The MVP. Oh my God. What was it? I'm gonna throw it. Was it 147 yards passing in his first Super Bowl, 1 touchdown pass? They gave him the MVP after his defense stopped the greatest show on turf, one of the best offensive teams ever. Last year, his defense held Patrick Mahomes to 9 points, but they give Brady the MVP. Oh my God. Don't get me started on Tom Brady. Against Seattle, he threw 2 interceptions. They gave him the MVP. You ruined my Sunday, Bruno.
I had to bring up Tom Brady, man. Yeah. Every time I bring up Tom Brady, Lepore
0 to 100.
The fire just starts burning inside him, and it is the greatest thing ever when you mention Tom Brady in front of Michael Brady.
One day I'll meet Tom. And so,
I need a selfie, Lepore. I just want to go on Instagram one day and just see a picture of you and Tom Brady.
Oh man,
just 2 of the best looking dudes out there.
Oh,
thanks, nice selfie.
But you know what's hilarious too with the whole Tom Brady thing? Like, I'm funny. I mentioned earlier in the show that I'm a big Notre Dame fan. Of all schools, he had to go to Michigan. Like that extra thing, like reason to hate him. Like he was the quarterback at Michigan. Like one of Notre Dame's biggest historical rivals. But let's talk about something else, Bruno. Like you're ruining my Sunday here.
All right, no more Tom Brady talk, Lepore. We'll save it for the next podcast.
Yeah, but just we'll do something DraftKings do with NFL. I'm sure we can do that show too. Over-unders in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna start like a different podcast for every sport eventually.
Why not?
All right. So yeah, like circling back here to the Central Division at the top, like the Colorado Avalanche. So you said Dom has them finishing with 120.
121, yeah.
DraftKings has their over-under at 110.5. Like, I think Colorado's going to win the President's Trophy again. I think they're going to go back-to-back. I think they're going to be pissed off about how last season ended against Vegas, losing in the second round. That team is still stacked across the board. So, yeah, I would definitely take the over on the Colorado Avalanche. I don't want to call that free money or a lock or anything like that, but, man, that Avalanche team is insane. Yeah. And I think it's basically between them and probably Vegas for the President's Trophy. And I say Vegas, just we'll get to the Pacific Division in a second, just because that division just isn't very good at all. Yeah. So, yeah, that's not a surprise. And then, yeah, Minnesota at 97.5. Like they took a nice step last season. They're still dealing with this Kirill Kaprizov situation. Like, is he potentially might go back to the KHL? Like, I don't think that's been settled yet.
Yeah, I think it came out that one team didn't want him, or there was some sort of disagreement, like just to put a nail in the coffin. But I mean, yeah, we'll get something confirmed in the next little while.
It seems like the Wild are gonna get that done, and he will sign a long-term contract, but we'll see how that plays out. And then, yeah, I mean, the Winnipeg Jets at 92.5. That's I think that's like a perfect number for that team. I would probably go slight over on that.
On the Jets, yeah.
As well with the Winnipeg Jets. I think like their offense and Connor Hellebuck should carry them to a playoff spot. Like I don't think the Jets are gonna finish in the top 3 in that division, but I do think they will get into the playoffs as a wild card team.
Okay.
That's kind of my thoughts on the Jets. But
so the top 3 in the division, you'd have Colorado, the Blues, and Minnesota.
No, I got the Stars. So I think I actually think it's going to go exactly. Oh, you know what though? The Blues, man, that's a good team too.
Yeah, like Dom has the Blues at 100 points.
I like the Blues as well. But I'm big on this Stars team too, Lepore. Like I think we could see all 5 of those teams make the playoffs just based on how terrible the Pacific Division is.
That's a good call. Yeah.
And then you have the Blackhawks though, right? Like we talked about, like everyone's like pumping the tires of the Chicago Blackhawks. You know, I even talked about Michael Trakos. I think he still writes for Post Media. He was like, "Oh, they're with the Tampa Bay Lightning and Vegas Golden Knights as like one of the best teams in the NHL heading into next season." It's like, can we pump the brakes on that team? Yeah. What are your thoughts actually on Chicago? Like, do you think they're right where they should be? Like, where does Dom have Chicago?
93 points.
93 points.
And that they were at 93.5 or something.
Yeah, DraftKings has them at 91.5.
Okay, 91.5. I don't know. I think I might go again, like what's more likely, like in the way of like a 5 or 10 point up or a 5 or 10 point down. Like, I think I'd have to go down. I think I'd have to go the under because I can't see Chicago pushing for like 100 points, but then I could see the opposite where they're like in the low 80s. So like a 500 team, a little better 500 than 500 teams. Yeah, I'd have to go under on Chicago, I think.
Yeah, that's a team where I got to see it because
Yeah.
like I get it. Like Taves is coming back and Seth Jones is in the mix now, but like Seth Jones, we've talked about his contract. Like that's like one of the worst contracts in the NHL at this point. And maybe Seth Jones proves everybody wrong and has a nice bounce back season. But that team, I look at their defense core, it's just not good. Like, yeah, I'm not sold on that Blackhawks team. Like, I think they're probably going to finish with under 90 points. That might be a little bit of a hot take, but yeah, I actually think they're probably going to miss the playoffs, the Chicago Blackhawks. But Lepore, any other final thoughts on this Central Division before we move on?
Not really. I mean, Arizona, really bad. Colorado, really good. Minus Nashville, you got kind of a cluster in the middle, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's perfectly said, man.